There comes a point when you realize that your greatest enemy has never lived outside you, not in the opinions of others, not in the noise of the world, not even in the chaos of fate. It is a battle in silence right inside your head. The mind is a wild beast that is strong enough to create an empire, yet careless enough to destroy one. It churns over memories like a storm, constructing endless stories of what if and what could have been. And in the middle of that, caught between past and future, you lose the present, which is actually the only place peace ever existed. The Stoics knew this struggle. They fought it every day. For even in ancient Rome, the battlefield of thought was just as loud as now. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, philosopher, wrote in his journal every night to tame his mind, not for an audience, not for praise, but to remind himself of one truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That is not just a sentence of philosophy. It is a weapon. And if you truly understand it, you will never live the same way again. Imagine waking up one morning. Your eyes haven't opened yet, and your mind has already started racing. What if I fail today? Why did I say that yesterday? Will they like me? What's the point of all this? The mind starts the day with noise, 1,000 tiny voices pulling you apart, and before you even stand up, you are exhausted. The Stoics called this the tyranny of thought. When the mind, left unchecked, becomes your master, it decides how you feel. It dictates how you react. It chains you to every emotion that passes through. But they also learned one powerful thing. You can break this chain. You can teach the mind to listen. You can make it your ally rather than your adversary. The first step isn't to battle your thoughts. It is to observe them. When Marcus Aurelius felt anger or anxiety, he didn't immediately push it away. He paused. He watched the feeling like a cloud passing through his mind. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Say to every disturbing thought, you are just a thought." This is the first Stoic technique observation, because you can't control what you don't understand. And most people never even see their thoughts clearly. They react, repeat, and regret. Observation turns chaos into clarity. It teaches you to notice what the mind is doing before getting pulled in. You are the watcher, the quiet presence behind every storm of thought. After observation comes separation. In Stoic terminology, it is called the dichotomy of control. They divided everything in life into two categories: what is within your control and what is not. That's it. Every problem, every emotion, every fear, it belongs to one of these two. When you place your energy only in that which you can control, the mind begins to quiet. Because fear and frustration are born from trying to command what was never yours to begin with. You cannot control how others treat you. You cannot control fate, luck, or the turning of time. But you can control how you respond, with calm, with reason, with virtue. As Epictetus said, there is only one way to happiness: to stop worrying about things which are beyond our power. The truth sounds simple, but it changes everything, because most of your anxiety is not about life. It is about your refusal to accept what you cannot shape. Control what is yours: your thoughts, your actions, your words. Let go of what is not: other people's opinions, outcomes, and the past. That is Stoic freedom, not apathy. It is clarity. It is learning to see the difference between where your influence starts and where it ends. Once you master this, you begin to live lighter. Your mind stops chasing everything it cannot hold. It begins to rest in what is real. The Stoics also knew that life doesn't shape you. Your thoughts about life do. They called this the discipline of perception. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your judgment about it." That single idea holds the power to end endless suffering. Two people can be in the same circumstance, and yet one becomes stronger while the other breaks. Why? Because one changed the story. They reframed their perception. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." The Stoic doesn't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" He asks, "How can this serve me?" That shift in thought is everything. When something painful happens, the ordinary mind resists. It cries, it clings, it curses fate. But the Stoic mind watches calmly and says, "This moment was sent to strengthen me." To the wise, every difficulty is training. Every rejection, redirection, every loss, the universe sculpting the soul. When you learn to see pain as purpose, you stop living as a victim and begin living as a student of life. This is how the mind becomes untouchable. Where perception changes, so does the world. At night, when the Roman Empire slept, Marcus Aurelius sat by candlelight and wrote. He didn't write about others, nor did he complain or seek sympathy. He wrote to himself, to his mind, to his reason. Each line was a mirror reflecting his thoughts back to him. This was the Stoic practice of reflection, and it wasn't weakness, it was strength, because the mind cannot improve if it never looks inward. Thus Seneca said, "Every night before I go to sleep, I examine my conscience. What evil have I done today? What good have I accomplished?" The Stoics built discipline through reflection. They reviewed their actions, absolved their failures, and refined their thoughts. That is how you slowly become your own teacher. In a world that demands constant noise, reflection is rebellion. You say, "I will not move through life blindly." You choose awareness over reaction, and once awakened, awareness does not go back to sleep. Most people run from pain. The Stoic walks toward it because comfort dulls the mind, but difficulty sharpens it. The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort, not as punishment, but as preparation. They would sleep on the ground, walk in the cold, eat simple food, and remind themselves, this is enough. Why? Because they knew that if you train yourself to endure small hardships, you will remain calm during great ones. As Seneca wrote, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself, 'Is this the condition that I feared?' This practice destroys fear, because you realize the worst-case scenario is rarely as terrifying as your mind made it." Voluntary discomfort builds strength, not by removing fear, but by proving to yourself that you can endure it. It is not about suffering. It is about training your mind to stop running from life. When you stop fearing discomfort, you stop being controlled by it. And when you stop being controlled by it, you become free. So far, you have learned 4 Stoic techniques: observation, separation, reframing perception, and voluntary discomfort. But the Stoic journey is not complete, because even with discipline, the mind can still wander. Even with strength, it can still fall into doubt. Further steps will delve deeper, revealing how to use reason as your shield, gratitude as your anchor, and stillness as your final form of mastery. The greatest battle is not to silence the mind, but to make it your most loyal companion. That is where we go next. There is a moment in your journey when you realize that discipline alone isn't enough. You can control your habits, your words, your routines, but the mind, it has layers far deeper than action. Beneath control lies the need for understanding. Beneath discipline lies reason. The Stoics called this the highest power of man, the ability to use reason to govern emotion. They believe that peace begins when logic replaces reaction. The 5th Stoic technique is the discipline of reason. Imagine your mind as a courtroom. Every thought that enters is a witness, every emotion, a piece of evidence. But there must be a judge, calm, wise, deliberate, who decides what deserves truth and what deserves silence. That judge is reason. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. But none of them can harm me, for I cannot be degraded by another's actions unless I allow it." That is reason in action. It is not denial of reality. It is mastery of perspective. The Stoic learns to pause before reacting, to place reason between stimulus and response. In that pause lies freedom. When anger arrives, reason asks, will this response serve me or enslave me? When fear arrives, reason asks, is this danger real or only imagined? When sadness arrives, reason asks, can I change this or must I accept it? The mind that questions its thoughts begins to control them. The mind that questions nothing becomes their victim. Reason is not cold, it is clarity. It's the light that allows you to see through the fog of emotion and illusion. Epictetus taught his students, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. The Stoics knew that reason must not only be known, it must be lived. Reason is the bridge between knowledge and peace. And when you live by reason, you start to see the world differently. You stop demanding that life be easy, and you start demanding that you be strong. But even reason needs something to anchor it, something that keeps the heart humble, gentle, and alive, because wisdom without warmth becomes pride. That is why the sixth Stoic technique is the discipline of gratitude. The Stoics practiced gratitude not as luxury, but as medicine for the restless mind. They believed that the root of unhappiness was forgetfulness. Forgetting how much you already have, Seneca wrote. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is present. It reminds you that peace doesn't require more. It requires awareness. Every morning, Marcus Aurelius began his day with thanks. Not for comfort, but for life itself, he wrote. When you rise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Gratitude softens the heart and clears the mind. You cannot hold both complaint and peace in the same breath. Try this each day. Name 3 simple things you are thankful for. Not grand victories, just ordinary blessings. The warmth of the sun, the breath in your lungs, the people who still stand beside you. These are the anchors of a calm mind. They bring your thoughts back to now, because fear lives in the future, regret lives in the past, but gratitude lives only in the present. The one place peace exists. The Stoics did not chase happiness. They practiced thankfulness, and in doing so, happiness followed quietly, like a shadow that never leaves. But even gratitude can fade when the world grows loud, when loss strikes, or when the path becomes uncertain. There is one final Stoic practice that sustains peace when all else fails: stillness. The 7th Stoic technique is the discipline of stillness. Stillness is not the absence of motion. It is the presence of control. It is what remains when the storms inside you have nothing left to shake. Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome, a man surrounded by war, betrayal, and duty. And yet, in his private writings, he always returned to stillness. Nowhere, he wrote, can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own souls. Stillness is a return to yourself. It is sitting quietly with your mind until it becomes an ally again. The world says, move faster. Stillness says, be present. The world says, do more. Stillness says, understand why. To practice stillness, you do not need a temple or mountain. You need only to pause, to breathe deeply, to watch thoughts come and go like tides returning to the sea. Stillness is where the noise fades and the truth speaks. And that truth is simple. You were never broken. You were only distracted. You have carried peace within you all along. It was only hidden beneath layers of thought, noise, and fear. The Stoics returned to stillness each day because they knew the mind is like water. When agitated, it becomes cloudy. When calm, it reflects everything clearly. These 3 final disciplines, reason, gratitude, and stillness, complete the Stoic path to inner peace. Reason teaches you to question your thoughts. Gratitude reminds you to value what you already have. Stillness allows you to rest in the truth that peace is not something you chase. It is something you uncover. When practiced together, they transform you from a thinker into a master of thought. You stop reacting and start choosing. You stop fearing and start understanding. You stop searching for peace because you realize you are peace. The Stoics never promised a life without pain. They promised a mind that could endure it with grace. They taught that calm is not found in comfort, but in control. And control begins the moment you stop being a prisoner of your thoughts. You cannot always master the world, but you can always master yourself. And that is where real power lives. But the Stoic path doesn't end here. It continues into action. How you live, how you serve, how you leave the world better than you found it. The final part of this journey will show you how to live your philosophy every day, how to turn these Stoic techniques into habits that shape your destiny. Because true mastery is not in knowing the way, it's in walking it.